Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emily Duncan, and I work for the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, also known as the IURC. The IURC is hosting today's field hearing. If you aren't familiar, we are the state government agency responsible for the regulation of public utilities in the state of Indiana. The agency includes 5 appointed commissioners who each have an equal vote on all formal cases before the commission. The IURC hears evidence in cases filed before it and makes decisions based on the evidence presented in those cases. The IURC is required by state statute to make decisions in the public interest to ensure that utilities provide safe and reliable service at just and reasonable rates. Field hearings, such as this one, provide you with an opportunity to formally offer comments to the Commission on cases under consideration. Before the Commission reaches a decision in this case, it reviews evidence presented by all parties, include the comments shared here today. We are joined today by Chairman Houston, Commissioner Freeman, Valletta, and Bennett, Presiding Administrative Law Judge Lloyd, and our court reporter Amy, who will record your comments to be included in the official record of the case. Because this is a pending proceeding before the IURC, the Commissioners and the Administrative Law Judge are not allowed to answer any questions or engage in discussion about the case. They are here today to listen to you. Of course, if you have any question about today's hearing, feel free to find myself or my colleague Ben in the back of the room. And if you are planning to speak tonight, you'll see 2 mics over here. And the most important one is the court reporter's mic so that they can ensure that they get all of your words in the record. It is important to speak loudly and clearly so both mics pick you up. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor, which is the state agency that formally represents consumer interests in matters before the Commission. Anthony Stringer from the Office of Utility Consumer Counselor, or the OUCC, will now offer a few comments prior to handing the mic off to Judge Lloyd to begin today's proceedings. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate you coming out for this hearing this afternoon and hope you take advantage of the opportunity you have here to share anything with the Commission you think will be helpful to it as it weighs the evidence and makes a decision in this case. There are 4 main things that we would like for everyone to know. First of all, the purpose of today's hearing. It's very simple. It's to give you the chance to speak directly to the Commission. You won't see a presentation from NIPSCO today. That's because it made its case to the Commission in writing through the testimony and exhibits it filed back in September. The purpose of the field hearing is to allow you to speak directly to the Commission under oath on the record. The OUCC's fact sheet that we hope each of you got on the way in has a brief summary of the utilities request along with other information about the case. The second thing we want you to know is that this is one of many steps in the rate case process. There will be no final decision today. The OUCC and additional parties will file testimony later this month, and there will be a number of additional steps to come. And so we're probably looking at a final order in the case in the summer of 2025. So we want you to be aware of that. The third point is that the OUCC is in the process of reviewing the case right now. We have a team of attorneys, accountants, engineers, and economists who are looking over the testimony and the exhibits that NIPSCO has filed. The Commission has given us until December 19th to finish our review, and at that point we will file our testimony and our recommendations in the case. There are a number of additional parties that have intervened in the case: the Citizens Action Coalition, the United Steelworkers, and a number of additional parties. They also are looking at a December 19th deadline for any testimony that they may want to file. Number 4, you should have received a form along with the fact sheet. If you would like to speak during today's hearing, all we ask is that you fill out the top half of the sheet. You can turn it in to me or any of my fellow OUCC employees at the table just outside the hearing room. We're going to do our best to keep the sheets in the order that they were turned in to us so that everyone can get called up and have the opportunity to speak. If you don't want to speak today, you think you might be able to get your points across better in writing, that is not a problem. We're inviting written comments through December 12th. The fact sheet has the information you need for getting those to us either in the mail or online. But we do ask that any written comments that come our way get to us by the 12th so that we have time to get them processed that we can review them before we do our filing, and we can make sure that they get into the record that the commission will review. So that's about all I have to say. Again, thank you for coming today. We hope you take advantage of the opportunity you have here. And with that, I will turn it over to Judge Greg Lloyd, who will begin the hearing. Thanks again for being here.
Great, thank you. In addition to the commissioners that Ms. Duncan introduced, I'd also note that Court Coordinator Toe Cash is to my left, as is Carol Sparks-Drake of the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor, Jennifer Washburn of the Citizens Action Coalition of Indiana, Inc., and Brian Lykin is representing the Northern Indiana Public Service Company, LLC. As has been mentioned before, the purpose of today's hearing is to provide the general public an opportunity to testify concerning the relief requested in this cause. Testimony can be provided orally or in writing, and regardless of how the comments are provided, they will all become part of the record in this case and will all be considered by the commission. This is a formal hearing, and all testimony provided will be given under oath. As a formal proceeding, much like you would see in a courtroom, outbursts in the forms of booing, cheering, clapping are simply inappropriate. In order for all testimony to be taken down properly by the court reporter, it's important that each witness speaking to the microphone slowly, clearly, and have the opportunity to testify without interruption. And so that all members of the public can present their views, oral testimony should only address the specific issues raised in this proceeding, namely those issues raised by NIPSCO's request for authorization to increase its electric utility service rates and charges. This will allow the field hearing to progress in an efficient manner that should allow all participants an opportunity to testify before the commission. Individuals testifying are encouraged to avoid offering repetitive or lengthy comments to avoid the necessity of the presiding officers to set a specific time limit on individual testimony. Again, the commission will consider all public comments, whether they are made orally or in writing. However, state law prevents us from answering any questions this afternoon as part of this proceeding. And if you are going to testify orally, Ms. Sparks-Drake will let you know when to approach the microphone. And so at this time, if you've not done so already, please turn off or silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. All right, Ms. Tokash, are you ready to go?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, I'll go on the record. This is a field hearing before the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, and the cause document before the commission is cause number 46120, captioned as Petition of Northern Indiana Public Service Company, LLC, pursuant to Indiana Code Sections 8-1-2-42.7, 8-1-2-61, and 8-1-2.5-6 for 1, authority to modify its retail rates and charges for electric utility service through a phase-in of rates. 2, approval of new schedules of rates and charges, general rules and regulations and riders, both existing and new. 3, approval of revised common and electric depreciation rates applicable to its electric plant and service. 4, approval of necessary and appropriate accounting relief, including but not limited to authority to capitalize as rate base all expenditures for improvements to petitioner's information technology systems through the design, development, and implementation of the work and asset management plan program to the extent necessary. And 5, approval of alternative regulatory plans for the partial waiver of 170 IAC 4-1-16F and proposed remote disconnection and reconnection process and, to the extent necessary, implementation of the low-income program. Notice of the time and place where the hearing was given as provided by law by publication in Marion County through the Indianapolis Star on November 21st, 2024, and in Lake County through the Northwest Indiana Times on November 22nd, 2024, and the Post Tribune on November 24th, 2024. These are newspapers with journal circulation. These publications were made at least 10 days prior to the date of the field hearing. The proofs of publication of the notices have been received by the Commission and are now incorporated into the record as caused by reference and placed in the official files of the Commission. Notice has also been given to the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor and other interested parties. We have appearances, please, first on behalf of the public.
Carol Sparks-Drake, Chief Deputy Consumer Counselor, for the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor, appearing on behalf of the public.
On behalf of the Citizens Action Coalition,
Thank you, Your Honor. Please accept the appearance of Jennifer Washburn on behalf of Citizens Action Coalition of Indiana, or CAC.
on behalf of the petitioner,
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Brian Likens on behalf of the petitioner of Urban Indiana Public Service Company, LLC.
Okay, thank you, counsel. At this time, I'll swear in members of the public who plan to give testimony today. If you plan to testify at this field hearing, please stand if you're able and raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you'll give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Please be seated. Ms. Barton-Strake, when you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Again, my role is to facilitate your ability this afternoon to present comments, to make your presentations to the commissioners. And to keep that flow going, I have 3 chairs up front. It's kind of like a baseball game. Your folks in the chairs will be on deck. So initially, I will call 3 names. If all 3 of those people will please come up front. And then as each speaker, the first person comes to the podium. As each speaker finishes, I'll call another name and just please fill the empty chair. And we can keep the flow going so that we try to facilitate getting as many comments as possible. So my first 3 folks on deck, Dee Ederite, Jason Tomisi, and Stephen Mays. And Ms. Ederite, if you would please go ahead and come to the podium. If you would state your name and spell it for the court reporter, please.
My name is Deetta Wright, D-E-E-E-T-T-A. My last name is Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T.
And please proceed with your comments.
Yes, I am here representing a school district in Northwest Indiana. I am the Chief Operations Officer for the school community of Gary, Indiana. I oversee the maintenance department, and because I oversee the maintenance department, I take a look at NIPSCO bills, water bills, and all type of bills that require to run the district. And I noticed that last year we spent over $2 million just on NIPSCO. That was just for 1 year, from July 1st, 2023 until July 1st, 2024. So a 20% increase, I calculated, would cost us a minimum of over $400,000. $400,000 would greatly impact our budget, which means that we would have to find other ways to make up that $400,000. Usually that's in the form of staff cuts, unfortunately. A 70% increase would cost the district approximately $1.4 million. Again, we're looking at devastating deficits if this hike is increased. So I'm asking that you all consider the impact that this would have on school districts, mainly ones in Northwest Indiana. Thank you.
Thank you. Felix Parrish, if you would please state your name and spell it.
Jason Tomsey, Jasontomcsi. On behalf of Hoosiers 50 Plus across Northern Indiana, many of whom are NIPSCO electric customers, AARP Indiana is pleased to make the following comments on the utilities rate request. AARP Indiana is here representing residential customers, particularly the 50 plus population. Many of these customers are on low or limited incomes, which makes rising energy bills a challenge when combined with higher grocery, housing, and medical costs. Any increase can have a significant impact on these Hoosiers and their families. They cannot afford a 21% increase to their electric bill, especially when combined with a proposed increase to the customer charge. When it's all said and done, customers would be facing over $40 more per month. NIPSCO's request to increase overall electric rates $369 million requires significant review and scrutiny by the IURC. Indiana utility rate increases need to be reined in, including the more than $2,600 per Midwest family for transmission plan by grid operator MISO, of which NIPSCO is a member. The company has requested to increase the residential fixed monthly charge, as I have mentioned, from its current level of $14 to $25, which is approximately a 78.6% increase. This is a significant increase that makes controlling your energy bill even more difficult and discourages energy conservation. It also hurts lower income and older Hoosiers. We urge the IURC to keep the charge where it is. An extensive review of NIPSCO's planned capital investments needs close scrutiny to make sure all costs for retail rate recovery are fair, sensible, and benefits customers. These investments are the main reason for the proposed $369 million revenue increase and should be trimmed. NIPSCO customers continue to see increase after increase. In 2023, NIPSCO electric customers saw a rate increase. And if these customers also had NIPSCO gas service, they received an increase this year as well. Should the Commission approve any rate increases, NIPSCO should only adjust rates a single time between 2025 and 2026. One rate increase is enough, as that would allow customers a period of stability in their utility rates after a plethora of other increases over the past few years. And finally, the company's request for a 10.6% return on equity requires review to ensure consistency with the current financial and market conditions. The proposed return is out of step with what other utilities in Indiana and across the country are receiving. High returns inflate the rate increase. Given how many trackers and other mechanisms the company has, its risk is reduced and its return should be lowered to reflect this. In summary, the proposed 31% increase in electric bills, even if it's spread out over 2 years, is too high. We'd like to thank the Commission for the opportunity to offer these comments on behalf of Hoosiers 50 Plus and NIPSCO's electric service territory.
Thank you. Mary Ellen Slazyk, S-L-A-Z-Y-K. Mr. Mays, if you would please state your name and spell it.
Stephen Mays, S-T-E-P-H-E-N, M-A-Y-S.
And please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Stephen Mays. I'm the president of the Gary branch of NAACP, and we represent all the cities in Lake County with the exception of Hammond and all of Porter County. And I have gotten call after call from our members, mainly our seniors. Everybody knows what inflation was this past year, and folks are struggling. The rent is going up, the food's going up, and then here we go, hitting across the head again after what happened in 2023. Seniors can't afford it. They have to choose between heating and eating. We have outreach, NIPSCO has some outreach, but that outreach doesn't reach the other city, and it doesn't reach the seniors. And so this is going to be a drastic hardship when they never recovered from the last rate increase. Business customers are also calling because they're not cash flowing and they're going out of business. Consumers can't get the services they need, so we need to dial that back and have a rate that's affordable. Just take rate for taking rate without a strong business case, just can't keep doing it. And you all have to represent all the folks, the seniors, all the people that are struggling. We've got to look deep and leverage technology. You don't have meter readers no more. In economies of scale, we have to get more efficient. So you got to ask them to go back, monitor their investments, monetary operation, and get efficient. And the past has always been given to the industrial customers. It's time for them to pony up. You can't come back and hurt these people again. We got to charge what we need to be charging, but this time we have to have some equity and fairness. The business case is not there. B2B, That's a better approach. That may be more equitable. To come back on residential, it's totally not fair. You all are the group that's got to make that right. So let's do that because seniors are up to their neck. And they bark at me. I just want you to understand and think through. Think through when you go to the store. Think through on all your bills, your credit cards. Everybody's taking rate, but we have to justify rate. We have to have a business case. These folks can't take it anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's Cleo Finn and Linda Davis. Mr. Parent?
Good afternoon.
I need you to please state your name and spell it for the court report.
Felix Perry, Felix Perry.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Felix Perry. I'm the Director of Support Services for the School City of Hobart and have served in this capacity for more than 15 years. With me here today is Dr. Peggy Buffington, our Superintendent of Schools. We are a district with an enrollment of 4,000 students with 6 school buildings. And I want to speak about the financial impact of the proposed NIPSCO rate increase on our school district. First, as you will probably hear throughout the day today, NIPSCO has the highest electric rates by far of the 5 electric utilities operating in the state of Indiana. In 2009, when we opened our new high school, our total electric costs were $798,000 at an average kilowatt cost of less than 10 cents. From 2010 through 2012, we took advantage of every available incentive and reduced our overall electricity usage by 28%. We changed more than 20,000 light bulbs from fluorescent metal halide to LED, both inside and outside of every school. We performed this work in-house to reduce labor costs. Since 2009, electricity costs have continued to climb, more than doubling to an average of 21.5 cents, which is what we're paying now, per kilowatt. And that was less, that's from a period of 2009 till now when they were just 10 cents per kilowatt, or 9.8 cents. After our efforts to reduce energy consumption, our total electric costs dropped to $580,000 in 2012. Now in 2024, we are paying approximately $1.4 million. With the proposed increase, our yearly electricity costs will increase to approximately $1.7 million. If electricity rates triple in the next 15 years, as they have in the last 15, we will be paying more than $5 million per year in 2040. Does that seem right? Inflation over the last 15 years averaged 40%, wages have risen about the same, but electricity with the proposed increase will see a 265% increase since 2009. Schools are considered commercial electricity users by NIPSCO, the same as steel mills, auto manufacturers, and other large businesses. The biggest advantage that schools have compared to other commercial users is that we cannot raise our prices to offset an increase in costs. Our only solution is to cut staffing, teachers, or programming. While electricity rates have risen 265% over this 15-year period, per pupil funding has not come close to that. Utility bills are paid from the operations fund for schools in Indiana. Most schools have had to go to the taxpayers for an operating referendum. This process is upsetting the taxpayers, and many school operating referendums have failed. Failure of a referendum results in staffing cuts, program cuts, and reduction in busing services. Schools do not have a choice but to go to the taxpayers when utility costs increase 265% over a 15-year period. We ask the Commission to carefully consider the impact of this proposed increase, as our students are the ones who will suffer as we struggle to meet their needs. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Terry Pearson. And I'm going to try one more time. Cleo Finn and Linda Davis.
Not speaking.
Oh, okay, thank you. Ms. Swayze. And also, you can come on down, Mr. Buck. If you would state your name and spell it, please.
Mary Ellen Slazek, M-A-R-Y, capital E-L-L-E-N-S-L-A-Z-R-K. I am very upset about this possible rate increase. I think 3 increases in 2 years was more than enough. They should not have even gotten that, and they definitely don't deserve a 4th one. I am very upset the fact that I have read what kind of profit margin they have, and that their stockholders last year in 2023 got to take a piece of the pie, which was $661.7 million. And I don't know what their CEO makes, but I bet it's quite a bit. And the average NIPSCO employee, for people in my pictures, just the average one, as of this year, their average wage was $95,232 a year. If I had that kind of money coming in, I'd be rich, for real. This is profits for the stockholders, and it's off the backs of the people. People like me on a fixed income. I get Social Security widow's benefits, and my eldest daughter, who has health problems, including heart problems, who lives with me, is on disability. And even though we got 2 incomes, they're not a lot, but I mean, we're sort of even, but I'm very thrifty, to say the least. I was still eligible for energy assistance, and I have been for a while. Last year I was just a few dollars a month over the limit, and I couldn't get it. This year we were in like Flynn, and I did bring a copy of that with me. I am telling the truth. So it's people like me, many out there like me, who are on a fixed income, maybe have a disabled person at home too, and even your combined incomes isn't enough to cover your basic needs. I have done everything I could to cut down on my electric use. I got rid of my freezer. I had an upright freezer, but God knows price of groceries, I couldn't fill it anyway, it was mostly empty. I got rid of my dehumidifier, and I even ditched my TV set. And I don't even have a TV. When I get up in the morning, I don't even turn on a light. Fortunately, I got a small house now. And I just go to the kitchen and get coffee started. And it's in the dark. And I don't turn on a light until the sun rises, and that's my light. I only turn on a light in my house when I absolutely have to. I have done everything to this house to make it energy efficient. Matter of fact, I constantly get letters from NIPSCO congratulating me on how energy efficient I am. But you know what? All the efforts I have put in to make my home as energy efficient as possible and to try to keep it within range where I can afford to pay these bills, and then I feel like I'm being penalized by all these increases by NIPSCO. According to NIPSCO's letters they send me all the time, I am 47% more energy efficient than the most efficient houses. So what am I supposed to cut to afford this? A 21 or 22% increase? And the basic features for the privilege of having a meter on the wall from $14 to $25? They gotta be crazy. They're laughing all the way to the bank. And doing off the backs of the people, and that's wrong. And they need to be stopped in this. It's like, you know, if you can't make a profit, then do some cuts. We've all had to make cuts to make a living, just to stay existing in this economy. And maybe they should start doing that too. And I would like to leave you with a copy of my NIPSCO bill, my energy assistance grant, which was half what it was before. I guess the funding must be low. And my letter from NIPSCO, and I got several of these letters saying how energy efficient I am. I wish they quit penalizing me for being energy efficient, because that's about how I feel right now. If somebody could take these, or...
Ma'am, if you would leave those
on the desk?
That will be fine, and I will retrieve them at the break.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Terry Pearson at the platform. Terry Stiegel. In the on-deck chairs, please. Sir, if you would.
Terry Pearson, Terry-Pearson. Most of the previous speakers and ladies before me have addressed the seniors, and we all know that we're hurting. We don't get much in the cost of living. This will eat up most of it. What I'd like to know is, why do the people that get assistance, not begrudging them that, any other forms of government assistance or entitlements is not considered income? But my Social Security, which the federal government now claims as an entitlement, if I try and apply for assistance, they want to know what my Social Security is, which puts me over the limit, and at least the federal government only taxed me on half of it. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Buck, you want to come to the platform, please? Anthony Higgs, Higgs. If you would please state your name and spell it for me.
My name is Paul Buck, P-A-U-L-B-U-C. I think what NIPSCO doing is just being greedy. 4 increases in 2 years, that's greed. It doesn't make sense. And as the one gentleman spoke about the schools, they have to come to the people for the referendums, or they have to cut staff. Here in Hammond, schools are closed because no money's there. So if they had kept those other 5 or 6 schools open, how are they going to pay NIPSCO? They can't. NIPSCO is robbing the people without a gun. They're robbing us. And if you all let them continue to rob us, I mean, where do we go? Where do we eat? They're eating, but we're not going to be able to eat. We're not going to be able to buy medicine. You know, our seniors not only need heat and food, they need their medicine. And the medicine is sky high for seniors. A lot of them are taking multiple different medicines. How can they afford it to stay alive? NIPSCO doesn't care. Before they would cut their staff, they would raise our bills. 4 times in 2 years, that's greed. My opinion, and I'm not saying that it's true, because I'm under oath, it's just my opinion. I believe after all of this circus, NIPSCO gonna take their checkbook down to the powers that be, make this happen. And it's gonna happen.
Mr. Stiegel, on deck, Bev, HMUROVIC. Thank you. Sir, if you would please state your name and spell it.
Yes, my name is Terry Stiegel. It's T-E-R-R-Y. Last name is S-T-E-A-G-A-L-L. And I'm a retired steelworker. Like some of the other people, you know, fixed income. So I guess I want to address the commission and all the members of the commission and the judge that, you know, so in some way we need to get NIPSCO to change their paradigm. Their first priority should be their customers, not their stockholders. And I'm going to give you a good example of that. You know, some years back, there was a lot of protests because NIPSCO was refusing to go to renewable energy. So finally in 2018, you know what, they did a study. And they found out that if going to renewable energy, they're going to save $4.4 billion. Because they started looking at their business from a more practical aspect and doing the right things for the people, and also eliminating what's become a major catastrophe for them is these coal ash ponds and the contamination that they have to clean up. They still haven't cleaned up because this is a problem in Wheatfield, it's a problem in Michigan City, it's a problem in Burns Harbor, It's a problem in Gary, Indiana, and they don't own state line generating, but that still needs a clean closure also. So these are things that they need to change their business model on how they're going to move forward in the future. And, so we need to look at that and change the model to where it represents the interest of the people. And theirs doesn't. A good example is, with all these things in the legislature about renewable energy. I think they've done what they can not to really support them, but let them go away. And these are things that could help a lot of ways with the utility. If you weren't so greedy about trying to take it all. Because we need to have more solar power on the homes. We need to have more solar power on the schools. We need to have more solar power all around. We need to have solar power in your local community more. Okay, you look across the street, you have a brand new school. Is there a solar panel on it? Hammond's done some great things as far as developing, but we're not developing smart. You go over on Indianapolis Boulevard, they have a beautiful sports complex that doesn't have any solar panels on it. They built a brand new YMCA. There's no solar panels on it. They got the Cube Ice Rink. There's no solar panels on it. Well, let's take some of that stuff off of the grid, if you think that way, to enable us to be a successful society, for one thing. And then the other part of that is now we have the mass development of data centers. So, this is where we all have to think a little different too. Because, those data centers are energy hogs. And we have to develop a system to where they're basically supporting their own electric system somehow, whether it's through on-site energy or adding stuff to the grid that we can do. And there's another thing we need to do. If you look at NIPSCO's done some good things. They've done some good things with solar and wind energy. But, it's mainly south of here. So we're not looking like we should be looking at this for the future. We got the Little Calumet River that runs through Indiana here. And along that, the Little Calumet River Basin has a lot of vacant property that would be ideal for solar panels. You could do the basically the micro solar farms there, where it's 30, 40, 50 acres. And you could put those all along the river, okay, and guess what runs parallel to the Little Calumet River? The transmission lines for NIPSCO. So we can tie those in the different communities here. And they've tried to do some crazy developments over in Gary, bringing in basically developments that aren't friendly to the community, where these are the kind of developments they could utilize their property with that doesn't impact also the water storage. So that's the direction we need to drive NIPSCO, and we need to drive the legislature. And they're not with us. They're against us. So, we need your help and input also, trying to advise them to go in the right direction. Like I said, if you look at what happened here when they finally looked at renewable energy, $4.4 billion they saved. So if we start getting more user-friendly in the community, there's another thing that NIPSCO is against, and that's the community solar farms. Maybe you have a house that has trees all around it, and you can't put solar panels on your house, okay? So, geez, I have a community solar farm that I can buy into. So that's a local thing that can happen to take the major impact off the grid and help us move to the future. Because that's where we got to go, the future. The other thing we're not doing is we're not, NIPSCO sends you all these things about being energy efficient. We haven't established, especially for new construction, what those standards should be, okay? Because, one thing, if you build a new 2,000 square foot house, it takes 40 to 50 trees, okay? Trees do a number of things. They draw water, they provide shade, they take in carbon monoxide, they give off oxygen, okay? So every house we build, we're robbing that from our environment and Mother Earth. We could do steel frame construction. That should be the building standard, okay? And then we should move on and start building on that. Oh, yeah, we can also do steel roofs. Steel roofs don't provide, you don't have a hazard as far as when you have to replace them. One thing that lasts longer And you don't have a problem as far as recycling it, because those asphalt shingles aren't easy to recycle. So you take away that problem. Now we throw on the solar panels as part of the new building code and make that a part of the house of the future. We got to build a future. We got to be just putting our head in the sand and act like there's not a problem, because there is a problem. And you know, we can take ourselves out of existence if we keep acting stupid. You know, and NIPSCO's done plenty of that. You go to the town of Pines. That poor town, it's a toxic cesspool of coal ash. And the damage has been done there. This has been going on since the 70s. And we go to 2024, and there's still a disaster at the town of Pines. I mean, you know, when are we going to, wise up? You know, look what we do, what we've done to this earth for the last 125 years of industry, just because we want to be cheap instead of doing the right thing. And we got to start thinking different. You know, we got to think of different too, because we actually need some green hydrogen up here for steel mills to lower the CO2 also. So there's a bigger thing that has to happen here. But NIPSCO wants to push blue hydrogen. You know why? They sell natural gas. And then natural gas, then to make it blue hydrogen, you need a carbon capture pipeline that aren't very safe. And they had to go 90 miles south of here and then pump the CO2 down the ground 6,000 or 7,000 square feet, 7,000 feet. So they're, but NIPSCO, they're probably going to be part of that pipeline somehow. And they BP likes the tax credit with that. I think it's $85 a ton that they'll get. And their goal is to, pump 23 million tons in the ground. So you do the math and I think it kind of comes out. That's what's projecting what they want to do. So these are things where we're not thinking right. Because green hydrogen, guess what? It's made with water and electricity. And there is no CO2. And what do we need for the future as far as the steel mills? As far as our trucking industry? We need green hydrogen. And we need to build that out at a pace we're not at. Because we keep putting our head in the sand, thinking we can just keep going the same old direction. Well, it's got to come to an end. So we got to start doing the right thing. And you know what? If NIPSCO comes up with the right business plan that has the interests of the people, they can make money for their stockholders and also not be a major polluter like they've done with the coal ash ponds. And there's still a miss. Those coal ash ponds have not been cleaned up yet. And the sad part of it is they started cleaning up the coal ash pond in Michigan City. So they dig it up in Michigan City, they put a lime pond in Wheatfield at their shaving plant and go dump it in there. So I guess 50 years from now, I guess that another generation will have to worry about what's going to happen there. Because we haven't figured out exactly what the safest way is to actually permanently get rid of the coal ash. So we need to get a different paradigm as far as how we're going to move forward in the future with energy. So please, emphasize this in your decisions and make NIPSCO, like I said, get out of their 1950s mode. This is not 1950s. It's 2024, where it's an existential threat is climate, and we need to act like it. So we need to move on, move forward, and see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony Hicks, and on deck, Joseph Hines.
Anthony Higgs, 1123 Moore Street, Hammond, Indiana, 46320.
Sir, can you spell your name for me, please?
Anthony, last name Higgs, Higgs, former councilman of the 3rd District of the City of Hammond, precinct commitment of H311 in Hammond, the City of Hammond as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all for being present here in the Hammond City Council chambers. As you can see, there are a number of residents from the City of Hammond, and although we miss seeing our council members, we really thank you all for allowing us an opportunity, Judge, and you all, your panel, to discuss and bring these issues to you that we are going to affect us if this increase is imposed on the residents of the great City of Hammond, as well as Gary. So my request to you all will be today that you please take in consideration the poor people, the less privileged people in Northwest Indiana, as well as in Gary, that don't have the significant income to provide an increase of make a payment of such. Not only will it affect them, but it would also affect poor relief in Gary as well as in Hammond, where the resources may come in handy. They're going to be at a shortfall as well when it comes to assistance in paying electricity bills for these residents in Northwest Indiana. There are people that are truly struggling now just to keep food on their tables, and their families are struggling to not only clothe their children, but to keep food on their table and pay utility bills and housing. So you have to take that all into consideration when you vote on this. Why not do a referendum? And I guarantee you it won't pass in Northwest Indiana if that should come up in terms of a rate increase. There are a number of seniors that are just trying to get their medication, and an increase of $30 will definitely hurt them and impact them as well. So I encourage you all to take in consideration for the residents of Hammond, Gary, East Chicago, especially that are struggling at this period of time in life, that you consider them and their needs as well, because the wealthy are going to continue to get rich, but there are people that are truly, truly struggling that I am truly aware of and talk to on a regular basis. So I pray that you take into consideration each of you, the circumstances and the effect that this will be on the residents of Hammond as well as Gary and East Chicago. I pray that you all really, 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 really sit down and analyze the effects that this may cause on these citizens. That's my request to you all, and may you have a blessed and prosperous day.
Thank you.
Well said, Anthony.
Charlotte Blaken-King.
Beverovich, B-E-V-H-M-U-R-O-V-I-C. I'm a retiree living in the Robertsdale section of Hammond. I spent most of my career in human resources, and a lot of that was in the compensation area. And I know that for the last 10 to 20 years, the average increase for employees has been in the range of 3 to 4%. And the conference board is estimating that it will be between 3.5% and 4% this year. At the same time, Social Security retirees like myself are receiving 2.5%. At the same time, NIPSCO is asking for an increase, as we've already heard from several, to the fixed part of the monthly bill from $14 to $25, or about 70%. And they're asking for an increase to the usage rate of around 20%. Either one of those is way out of line with the kind of increases that employees and retirees are receiving this year. Both together are extremely high. Neither the average employee nor retiree can afford these increases to a service that we all need. We have already had an increase last year to electricity and to gas rates this year. We all need the electricity and gas, but we need it at an affordable price that we can afford. So we ask you to consider this request and deny it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph Hines. Kathleen Strain. Sir, if you will please state your name and spell it.
My name is Joseph Hines, Josephhind, D as in David, S as in Sam. Good evening, members of the commission. I'm here because I care deeply about my family and neighbors in this area. Many of them are already struggling to make their utility payments. NIPSCO's proposal in this case would push them even closer to the edge. This is a huge burden on families who are already cutting back on essentials like food and medicine just to keep the lights on. You have others, I've already said, who have disabilities and do everything they can to cut costs. I don't see how this can be justified when so many people are barely getting by. I'm originally from Indianapolis, and I understand there are similar rate hikes across the state. Although I understand NIPSCO's rate is one of the higher hikes in this region, and this region has the highest cost burden on families in the state. What really frustrates me is their proposal to increase the fixed monthly charge by 79%, raising it to $25. This flat fee punishes people who are trying to save energy to lower their bills. It's especially harmful to seniors, families with kids and people with disabilities, as others have said. Please do not approve this fee hike. On top of that, NIPSCO wants residential customers to shoulder more of the costs for their generation resources and coal ash, while letting large industrial customers off easy. How is that fair? Customers shouldn't be subsidizing big businesses even more than they already are. While I'm frustrated by these rate hike requests, I do appreciate NIPSCO's proposals to help low-income customers, residents in multifamily housing, and our efforts to eliminate reconnection and convenience fees. These are the kinds of programs we need to support. I'm asking you to stand up for Hoosiers like my family and neighbors to reject these rate hikes and flat fee increases that will hurt the most vulnerable. But please approve the low-income programs and affordability measures that can make a real difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Devin Norfleet. Ms. Blake King. Do I have Charlotte Blake King on deck? Thank you.
Good afternoon.
If you would please state your name and spell it.
Carlotta Blake King,
I'm sorry.
K-I-C-A-R-L-O-T-T-A. Blake, B-L-A-K-E, hyphenated King, K-I-N-G.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My first observation when I look at you folks, I see absolutely no diversity. So I don't see anybody that looks like me that would understand what I'm saying, or that can concur, or just really reach into my shoes and see how this addresses me personally as a senior citizen, retired, former NIPSCO employee, and I currently serve as a school board trustee for the school city of Hammond. And I certainly know who I serve in terms of my constituents. And I know they would be put in a tremendous financial hardship with these increasing rate hikes. I concur with everything that has been said up to this point, especially my colleagues from various other school districts, as to how this kind of insane increase would move forward. It represents corporate greed, gouging. It shows that you're culturally insensitive, you're privileged, and you again you're creating layers and layers of working poor class people. This is what you're doing. So I appeal to your senses, to your sense of responsibility. As many have said before me, NIPSCO has to learn how to budget, cut, like we all do. And it amazes me when I speak of privilege, you continually create these rate hikes and say to your residents, we don't care how you pay for it, just pay it. And if you don't, you're certain to be cut off. And then I respond to the issue as it has been, data has proven that in certain urban communities or rural communities, do we get the best service for the same amount of rate hike? Do we? I stand before you and I challenge you and I say no. So yet urban and rural and poor communities are receiving these same hikes, and yet we don't get close to the service as more privileged communities do. So again, I appeal to your sense of responsibility, your sense of realizing that it's just a joke. But the joke is on the residents and the folks that have to pay these outrageous bills. And as you sit comfortably and listen to us, I wonder, am I wasting my time? It's just, you know, something you all have to do and go back. And the hikes will still continue. So again, am I wasting my time? I see you taking notes. Are you going to take these notes to heart? That you're addressing a diversity community, urban, rural, poor, and yet you're putting another layer and another layer and another layer of poor folks. And you're even draining the various agencies that help the folks that can't pay. You know, they can only help so much. So it's just a vicious cycle, again, of greed, gouging, privileged, and adding another layer of poor working class folks. I hope you hear me today, because if you don't, I guess the only alternative we have as residents is just to keep coming back and expressing ourselves and hoping and praying that you are actually listening and that you will take our comments back, take it to heart, be reasonable people. Again, in terms of diversity, is anyone on your commission from rural or urban? You know, do you walk in my shoes? Are you on a fixed income? Less than $30,000 a year. So I hope you can make the decision, a fair decision for the folks that you serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Grace Tocola. If you would please state your name and spell it.
My name is Devin Norfleet, DEVONNORFL.
Step a little closer to the microphone for me. Thank you, sir.
I would just like to say, first of all, I'm just coming to you as a citizen, and that I vehemently oppose the raise and increase for NIPSCO. NISORS, NIPSCO's parent company that powers multiple states throughout the Midwest, recently reported in their quarter 3 yearly report that NIPSCO alone got $85.7 million in net revenue. Let me say that again, net revenue, not gross revenue, which is an $8 million increase in their profits at the same time last year. In quarter 2, they have reported $85.8 million. In quarter 1, they reported $334.3 million. So in total, $505 million over the last year. And the year's not even out. Over the last 2 years, NIPSCO and their sister companies have seen increases in their net profits, so much so that they have added in a $2 billion increase in their 5-year plan for their renewable resources. And they're still asking U.S. citizens for more. And not only in Indiana are they asking us currently for a price raise, but in all the northwestern or midwestern states that they operate. Clearly they haven't been struggling and are in fact thriving, but yet have the audacity to put a boot to our back and ask for more money. The Gary and East Chicago area's median household income is $36,000 a year, which is just barely above the poverty line, federal poverty line, which is $31,000, and most people in this area are at best living paycheck to paycheck, and at worst are choosing between food, heat, and power. This area is home to some of the most vulnerable people in the community, like in our communities, such as our elders and young adults like me who at the age of 23, who has a stable job, can't even afford to move out of my home, or my mother's home. I live in a 3-income household and we're still barely making it paycheck to paycheck. How can anyone here be expected to choose between having a home, a heat, electricity, food, or even a future, if every second the cost of living is rising. At these rates, these companies will continue to tighten their grip on us until they choke us to death. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Wachala. Do I have Kathleen Strain? Here. Please, if you would go ahead and state your name and spell it.
My name is Kathleen Strain, Kathleen, K-A-T-H-L-E-E-N, Strain, S-T-R-A-I-N. And I'm a resident of Munster. I also oppose the increase. And I think we learned so much today just listening to everyone else that's come up here. I guess my question though is I'm wondering, with this being a fourth increase in 2 years, it almost seems as though NIPSCO didn't expect some expenses, and I'm wondering if that relates to data centers that are going to be coming into Northwest Indiana. I'm also wondering whether or not the data centers that are coming in, known to be huge energy consumers, whether they are contributing to the infrastructure at a level commensurate to the proportion of energy that they will be utilizing here in Northwest Indiana. I guess that's my main question, although I think so many good points have been raised here today, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Grace Tafola?
It's pronounced Tafoya.
I believe you spoke in Valparaiso, didn't you?
Yes, I did, and I will see you again tonight at Gary because...
And I appreciate that, but I cannot call you up twice.
Devin spoke in Valparaiso as well, and you had him speak already.
Then I apologize for that, but I did not recognize him. I'm sorry.
So can I speak after everybody's done? Because either way, I still have the right to free speech and to speak here.
You will need to wait until I have an opportunity for everyone who has not addressed the commission to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Wachala. And on deck, Julian Nazario.
Hello, my name is Connie Wachala, C-O-N-N-I-E-W-A-C-H-A-L-A. I live in Highland. I'm a residential customer of NIPSCO, and I'm a member of a sustainability group in our town called Highland Neighbors for Sustainability. I request that the commission deny NIPSCO's proposal to increase my electric bill by $45 per month. I ask the commission to please deny or significantly reduce NIPSCO's return on equity. I ask the commission to deny NIPSCO's proposed residential fixed charge increase of 79% from $14 to $25. And I ask the commission to deny NIPSCO's move to have residential and small business customers subsidize the electric rates of the large industrial and commercial customers. Such a huge rate increase would be extremely harmful to not only my family, but to our community. Residents are already harmed by the high costs of food, housing, gasoline, education, healthcare. Nearly half of Indiana residents struggle to afford basic necessities. To ask those who don't have very much to subsidize those who have a lot is a mark of an extremely dysfunctional society, dysfunctional system, and one that needs to change. To correct this crude injustice, I suggest that we rethink the monopoly on energy that would give to a private company that does not have the public good at heart, but instead has in mind its profit margin and its commitment to shareholders. A sector as important as energy should be placed in the hands of the public so that decisions are made for the public good. This isn't a new idea. The city of Cleveland has held onto ownership of its municipal division of Light and Power to the benefit of its residents and lower energy costs. There are likely other municipalities that have had control over their energy companies. NIPSCO, along with other energy companies in Indiana, successfully lobbied to take away net metering, a win for those energy companies, but a loss for residents with rooftop solar or those who would like to get it. They've also lobbied successfully against community solar, and now they're asking for a huge fixed charge rate increase so that even if we reduce our energy usage through solar panels or simple conservation, such as turning down our thermostats and bundling up inside our homes, we still end up with larger energy bills. NIPSCO just raised their electric rates last year and recently received an infusion of several $billions from Blackstone. Even so, they will likely be returning to ask to pick up the cost of their recently approved $600 million gas plant. We're already paying the highest electric bills in Indiana. I ask everyone here, how much more are we willing to put up with? Please protect and prioritize residents and small business owners, which are often described as the lifeblood of our communities, by denying this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nazario?
Julian Nazario, Julian Nazario, N-A-Z-Z-A-R-I-O. First, I would like to say thank you for holding this, and I think it's very important to the community to know what's going on and how it's being proposed. I'll tell you something first and foremost. I am a clean energy professional. I have been for over 20 years. I work nationwide as an advisor to private and public sector, and I deal with utility companies. They don't particularly like me for what I put together for the community and how I bring it together for companies and private sector, or private and nonprofit and public sector. Okay, this is an atrocity what's going on as this proposal rate hike, 4 rate hikes in 2 years. It's unexplainable and it's unacceptable. Okay, what NIPSCO is asking to do is for the consumer to foot the bill for infrastructure, which NIPSCO should foot the bill for. NIPSCO is in bed with NextEra. If you're not familiar with NextEra is in 49 states, also in Canada. They're one of the biggest conglomerates in the world for energy. Their base is out of Florida, which is where I just came from. I battled with them for over 20 years. I know what they do and how they do it. What they're planning in this community is to basically pillage. We should have solar everywhere, and it should be consumed and operated by each individual who owns a home. And if they don't own a home, then there should be community solar. But NIPSCO wants to build and purchase solar property, which whether it's a wind farm or a solar farm through acreage, and they want the consumer to pay for it. So basically they want to harness the energy for free and pass the cost down to the consumer. That's unacceptable. With that being said, they're not even willing to put money back into the community for assistance, for community-based programs. What they have and what I'm aware of is unacceptable. It's barely next to none. I deal with low to moderate income clients nationwide, and the energy company's only really intention is to monitor what goes on in the community so that they can have a finger on the pulse and control it. That's all they want to do. So with that being said, I would urge you and plead with you to reject their intention of a new rate hike. And even if you don't, knowing how they're going to play ball, you'll just reduce it down to where everybody says that's acceptable and you'll pass it anyways. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis Jefferson.
Good afternoon.
If you would please state your name and spell it.
Dennis Jefferson, DEANIS, JEFFERSON. I remember when the Super Collider went on, we had a promise of lower prices. We never got it. And we've had continual rate increases. It's not right. I'm disabled. My wife is disabled. I'm on a fixed income. She has no income. 2/3 of my check goes to pay the electric bill. Guess what that leaves me to eat off of? To pay my property taxes off of. It's not fair because, just to put it plain and simple, I can't afford corporate profits. And that's all you guys are trying to get is corporate profits. It's not right, it's not fair, and it's unjust. I'm done.
All right, it's time is 2:40. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll walk away at this time. We'll go back on the record at 10:50. All right, the time is now 2:50, and we'll go back on the record. Ms. Sparks, great, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Grace Tocola.
Hi, I'm here today to remind you that the citizens of Gary, Indiana cannot afford this, and on top of that, we have no alternative for somebody to go to for electricity or heat. You've created an energy monopoly, and it is your job to regulate them, and right now they are trying to take advantage of us. Do your job and protect us. If I don't want to do business with NIPSCO, I can't just say, oh, let me go to the other energy company. There is no other energy company. I don't have a choice on who I get to pay for heat or electricity to charge my phone. And you know what? I got an email yesterday letting me know that my job that I usually work during the winter isn't hiring. And they lost their funding, so I'm not going to have a job this winter. And I told you last time at the Valpo hearing that I froze that night because I know I can't afford the heat bill. And I'm going to continue doing it all winter. That coat I came in is now my blanket because we can't afford the energy bill. I'm here also to represent my parents who don't have the time to come here. My dad's a disabled veteran who has been working and living in this area all his life, and has given, like many other residents, has given his life and his body to the industries that we are forced to work for all around here. We're wage slaves. We have no ever hope of leaving this area if we can't already afford our bills, and then you're going to raise that on top of it. I just want to reiterate what Devin said, that in this year in their quarterly report, NIPSCO reported that they were having such great earnings that they're going to add another $2 million to their renewable energy project. So why do they need our money to fix it? They need our money because they're getting fines, $7 million in fines. They need our money because they don't want to pay for it. They need our money because they don't want to take the loss on their checkbooks. I've taken the loss on my checkbook, and I've done more than my fair share of losses. It's time for NIPSCO to pay their fair share of losses. I don't get a choice. It is your job to regulate them. Regulate them.
All right.
Thank you. Your Honor, we have no additional forms reflecting a desire to make comments. Therefore, I would move for the admission of FH1, this is a field hearing exhibit.
Any objection from the Citizens Action Coalition or petitioner?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor. Policy exhibit HFH1 is submitted into the record of the project. Ms. Sparks, great.
Nothing further, Your Honor, from the public.
Okay, thank you for your participation this afternoon. Cause number 46120 is continued to the field hearing to commence at 5 o'clock p.m. local time. Today, December 5th, 2024, in the Gary Public Library, Woodson Branch, located at 501 South Lake Street, Gary, Indiana 46403. Will now go off the record.